Hi, it's Daryl. I'm checking in from Carlsbad, California, the West Coast. It's so beautiful right now. I've got the sun is setting and I'm looking at the ocean and I'm really feeling the water quality mixed inside. It's interesting times that we're coming up against, and I wanted to share with you what's happening in our skies as we're coming into this full moon tomorrow. It's technically the 30th, on the 30th, in the middle of the night. Vedic astrology is slightly different than Western. I say this often, but I think it deserves repeating that it's slightly different in that it's predictive. Western astrology is based on the tropical zodiac and does measurements based on seasons and not on the constellations to the planets. And there's other differences as well, but I can share that with you if you're interested. I'm looking at my chart here on the side. So in this particular practice, Vedic astrology, we're having a full moon in Taurus. And Taurus is this grounded, earthing quality that we're looking for. And if you remember from a few videos back, I talked about how we had the Rahu Ketu axis slipping from, it was in Gemini and in Sagittarius, and it just switched a bit. So we've noticed as a collective that we are looking for more grounding, right? So this Rahu is a searching part of us, projecting a little into the future, where we can really kind of anchor down in Taurus, like where we're seeking our creative self, where we want to hunker down and connect with family and bring out that part of ourselves that just really reinforces what we've been seeking when it was in Gemini. So when Rahu was in Gemini, we're looking for questions and wanting to understand how things are going as a collective. And now we're really wanting to put that into form by Taurus is where we can be stuck. It's ruled by Venus. So this area in the sky is ruled by Venus. And then the transits go over these houses. And so the transit now is, like I mentioned, Rahu is now within Taurus. And then tomorrow the moon will go there. And as it's feeling, the moon is our feeling capacity, right? And it's full, it's expansive, it's bright, and it's going to be eclipsed. So according to Vedic astrology, when we have a lunar eclipse, which will be followed shortly by a solar eclipse, the lunar eclipse is where we have this kind of confusion about our internal experience around these feelings of anchoring, or what's going to satisfy us, or what will bring us to it's funny to say that I'm going to say feeling better. And the reason I'm saying feeling better is Venus is this placement of Taurus is where we're seeking how we can feel better, which is our nature. It's a placement where we can really benefit from practicing our practices, our sadhana, or our yoga, or our breath work. We can really make great strides. And I wanted to talk about also where we're in this placement in the sky. Beyond the signs are these star constellations. Those are called nakshatras. And nakshatra itself means to obtain. It's a Sanskrit word. And it's these star asterisms that are even more, I'm not going to say more important, because they each bring forth their own gift in order to express themselves. Like each planet has an area in our lives that it rules. Each house, 1 through 12, which marks your ascendant. Your ascendant is house number 1. The second in each one of those houses rule an area in your life. And then you've got the signs themselves. So it's like this trifold. It's even more layered than that. These deep, complex ways of how we get our experiences expressed to us, right? So when we have Venus as a ruler of Taurus, so Taurus is the sign, it has an owner, I'm calling it owner. The owner is Venus. This is where we seek our happiness and joy. Taurus is also this earth-like quality where we're anchoring into something. We really can get stuck if we're not careful. But then you bring about the moon, which is this watery capacity. It can give a little money, but also I think with Rahu there, it gives us this forward-seeking, wanting to understand. I'm not going to say obsessive quality, but if you notice that you've already got your decorations up, if you are looking for how can I, what can I do now? And you're forward thinking about creativity and what you like to bring into the world. This is part of that. And it really behooves us to be able to express ourselves in this way, especially now, right? We've had all this little flunky stuff happening. I'm not even good. 2020 is just like, wow. But here we are with this eclipse. So we might feel a little confused about it. We might wonder, okay, well, what's coming next? How do I engage? What can I do next? And I say, if you just pause for a moment and make sure that you're not satisfying your sense of creativity or your senses with overindulging, all great. And we're going to have planet shifting too. We just had a Jupiter going into Sagittarius. So this is in an area that Jupiter doesn't like. It doesn't do very well here. And I meant to say the moon also is exalted in this placement in Rohini. Rohini is the name of the nakshatra that is just within Taurus. Rohini is about creativity, about, I'm thinking like not fertility, but it's where we bring forth things that we want to grow. So this is a perfect time for us to begin a creative outlet or continue a creative outlet, go inward, be more reflective. Venus is transiting Libra, its own house rulership. Remember, each sign has a ruler, an owner, I guess, a ruler, and Taurus is Venus, and so is Libra, actually, the other ends of the zodiac. So we'll find that we may be looking for our comfort, not superficially, but with others, and being indecisive in Libra. There's a tendency for indecisiveness. So be aware of that. We've got Jupiter, I just said, has gone into Capricorn. And Saturn's there, though. So Saturn is in its own house rulership. So even though Jupiter doesn't do well there and gives a little bit of stability, so we may be feeling a little not hopeless, but having a harder time finding a sense of hope and direction. Just settle. It's going to be fine. We're going to find our way if we continue to work within our lines of practice, or at least aiming towards that. One thing I did want to mention, and we've been watching this transit for quite some time, is Mars. Mars, oh my friend. So Mars is this part of ourselves where we are able to take action, but it's also a very argumentative part of ourselves. And we may not always understand why. For me, as a Virgo ascendant, it lands in my house of relationships. So I've really got to watch I filter myself before I say anything, because it comes out feeling a little harsh. And it's in Pisces. So when Mars is in Pisces, there's a tendency for, what is the right word I'm going to say? There's a tendency for getting lost in the argument, maybe. That's the best way to describe it, because Pisces is the end of all of the signs, and this progression that goes from Aries all the way through to Pisces. Pisces is the last kid on the block, and it's kind of ready to transmute itself and release and go elsewhere. And if we're arguing in that place, we can find ourselves arguing ourselves to death. Or in positive light, it's also where we fight the good fight, and we rise up and find causes that where we want to express our spirituality, which can be done, and you can do it with action, right? You can do actual physical asana. You can do things that help you feel better, help others feel better. So Mars, it's not that it's in a bad placement, it's just something that we're really going to want to pay attention to. And one last thing about the Rahu Ketu axis, we now have also, I think it's like the Sun and Mercury have just, are coming together in this placement of Scorpio. And just want you to know that if you're having what you might think to be irrational thoughts and fears about what you're doing, where you're going, how you're saying things, just pause for a couple of days. I think this will pass if we don't obsess and we don't keep reviewing in our minds what we thought we heard or what we thought we should say. Know that your true identity is already connected to the divine, and that really what is required is for you to kind of silence the noise, come to settle, and make your offerings to others and have it come from your heart. When we seek to take care of others, we lose ourselves, and now's a good time to be losing ourselves. There's a lot of fear, a lot of concern going on. COVID's dragged out way longer than we thought, travel concerns, toilet paper thing again. And for those that have been touched by COVID, my heart goes out to you, and those that think COVID's not a thing, all good too, no problem. I just want to make sure that we love and care for one another the best that we can. And how we can do that is by, let's not argue. Let's do our practice, our internal practice, or service work, or, worship service, or whatever that is for you. And remember that you are loved and that you're worthy and that you are here for a particular reason. And if you want to understand how you're here, why you're here, the blind spots that you're having, a Vedic astrology reading would really help give insight on that. Another thing that I've been offering, and I meant to say earlier, is a lot of parents have been teaching their children at home, or are trying to work through how to teach their children at home. And if you know we know our children, right? We get it. But when you look at their chart, or you have somebody help explain what their strengths and weaknesses or likes or hidden talents might be, then it might help you as a parent to either cope or redirect your teaching style and your skill set. Reading can do that. So if you're interested in doing some type of a deeper dive to understand your style or your child's style of learning, you can connect. I'd love it if you like this video, if you share it, if you comment on it, if you've got any questions, if you want to know what your ascendant is, you can send me a message and I will certainly find out what it is if you have your birth time. That's all that's required. But I thank you all so much for being here and for doing your part in our spiritual collective consciousness to keep it as cohesive as we can. We just need to love one another more, and that begins with loving yourselves. So wishing you all the best, lots of love. All right, namaste. Bye.